Hello everybody. So this video, if you've ever wanted to get to know me, this is what you want to watch. We're talking about all of the books I have ever rated 5 stars. Apparently it's a lot. Here we go. Some of these my opinions may have changed on, so I'll kind of try and touch on why when we get to that book, but let's just hop right in. I'm going with most recently first. The most recent 5-star I have was The Summer Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. Now, I absolutely love this book. I think I read it in 1 or 2 days. It was so fun and literally summer in a book. The whole premise of this is they're in Nantucket and they're playing a game of Assassin. There's romance in it, but the game of Assassin I loved so much. I thought it was so fun in this book, and I've never read anything like it. It was just such a fun summer book, perfect for the beach, vacation, whatever. And then the next 5-star I have is Billy Summers by Stephen King. This was actually my first Stephen King book. Super exciting, and it was so good. His writing is obviously incredible because he's like such a popular author, but it was so good. And I didn't really think I would like this, but I seen Haley Pham read it and she likes it, so I was like, all right, I have to. Basically, the premise of this book is our guy Billy, he is a hitman basically, and he is hired for this job. It's like kind of sus, but he is getting paid so much money, so he's like, yeah, I'll do it. So this job is one that like will take a while to see through, I guess, so he has to play the part of an author. So you get to read his backstory that he is writing for that book, and also him following through with the hitman things. It's super interesting. But one thing about this though, I will say, once we got to like the halfway mark, something about it started to slow down for me. I'm not really sure what, but it did get a little slower. And then this book, literally of course it's in here, it's probably in everyone else's 5-star rates, Miss Fourth Wing. This book, oh my gosh, I seen people raving about it on TikTok, Instagram, everything, and I didn't expect it to love it as much as I did. The premise of this book is basically our main girl Violet, so she has spent her whole life training to be a scribe, which is kind of like a scholar type thing, but her mom is a general in this world and wants her to be a rider, like a dragon rider, and basically fight. So her mom pushes her to do that, so she has to go through these trials. There's friendship, there's love, and it is so good. I read this in 1 or 2 days, and the whole time I was reading it, this book was all I could think about. Like, I was away doing something, not home reading, and all I could think about was getting home to pick up this book. And then next we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. So this was definitely a surprise because I did not like Book Lovers that much. I was so excited that I loved this book, and I've now read it 2 times in 2 months, so that says something. This book is just perfect. I mean, I loved their relationship, and I really loved how it was kind of more like a literary fiction with a subplot of romance. I definitely liked that there was other stuff going on rather than just the romance. The summary of this book is basically we have Gus and January. They're both authors in this like little lake beach town type thing. They both have stuff going on in their pasts and their lives, and they're both in like writing slumps, so they decide to actually switch genres and see who can publish a book first, and they kind of bet on it. Obviously they fall in love, and it's just so cute, and I love how there's just more going on than just their romance. These 2 freaking books. We're just going to talk about this series as a whole for a second. I didn't necessarily give them all exactly 5 stars, but it's a 5-star series. So, first up we have Magnolia Parks. This book, you guys, when I tell you I think about this like 20 times a day, I mean it. I actually DNF'd this at first. I put it down for over a month, and I just randomly got the urge to pick it up, and I binged it. Basically, this is about high society London. Consider it Gossip Girl, if you will, and it's a toxic relationship. And I'm normally not one for like darker toxic-y romances at all. Like, I love YA, but somehow I loved this book. It had me crying, it had me laughing, it had me smiling, it had me all of the things. So basically you're just following this group of friends and these couples and their drama, and I loved it. And then the second one I gave 4 stars. I don't know, something about it I just wasn't as hooked as first or as into it. The third book I gave 4.5 stars just because the toxicity got to me a little bit. Like, I did get annoyed with them at some points. I'm like, oh my gosh, figure your stuff out or just stop. This is my favorite of the series. Daisy, I almost said Daisy Jones, and that's 6. Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is like a 17-star book. So it is about my favorite character, Julian, and I just love the world that he's in and reading about it. And this is kind of the same thing, same drama, same toxicity, but it follows different characters. And then we have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. So this is like a high adult fantasy book. I think this was probably one of my first adult fantasies, and I absolutely loved this book. The cover kind of scares me a little bit, but basically our girl's name is Mia, and she is like trying to be like an assassin type thing. So she goes to this like school church thing, and she has to go through some trials. Basically she just has to try and be chosen to be murderer assassin type thing. And this book, at first, it definitely took me a while to read and get into, but once I did, it was just incredible. The ending is literally phenomenal, and like you wouldn't see it coming. It's so good. And this is a trilogy. I haven't read the other 2 books yet, don't know why, but yeah. Here's me realizing I haven't given like any books 5 stars this year. And then we have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. So this is just a YA cute rom-com book. The premise of this one is basically Liz and Wes are neighbors, and Liz has a crush on this one dude, don't know his name, but she basically asks Wes to help her get the guy, and obviously Liz and Wes, the neighbors, fall in love. This is just so cute, and I feel like a lot of aspects about Liz in this were true to me in this, so I feel like that's why I liked it. And it was just so cute. And at the start of every chapter there is a rom-com quote, which we love. And then my next 5-star is Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. I think this is the only thriller in this list, because the thing with thrillers in me, like, they just don't really stick with me, you know? Like, I love them when I'm reading them and just finish them, but like they don't stick with me. But this one has. She got my ass, let's just say that. I don't understand how she comes up with these twists. I literally had a document on my note trying to guess what the plot twist is gonna be. Yeah, I wasn't close. The premise of this book is basically they are a couple and they are kind of struggling with their marriage. I think they win a weekend away somewhere, and it's just like a creepy place, and it's just not the vibe. So that's all I'm gonna tell you. And then I have 2 books from my favorite series ever, ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the 2nd and 3rd book, if I had to pick a favorite. The premise of the first book is technically Beauty and the Beast retelling. So Feyre does something and she basically gets sent away to live in the Fey magical world. She's just a human. Obviously she doesn't want to be there and all that. It's crazy. Like, looking back at this book, I like don't really remember all that happened, but when I remember certain things, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I did start rereading this and then I stopped. Nothing about the book, just I was in a huge slump. So I gave these 5 stars because once you read them, you're just like, and they're bricks, but you are hooked the entire time. You love the characters, you love the romance. Just, I'll shut up now because I could go on, but yeah. And this one, I don't really know if I stick with this as a 5-star, but it is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. The thing with these like cutesy YA romances is I'll be reading them and I'll read them so fast and think like, oh my gosh, this is a 5-star, and then I'll never think about it again. And that's kind of how this went. So this is a time loop book. So what that means is basically she relives the same day over and over, and this happens to be Valentine's Day. Something happens in that morning and then she just keeps reliving it and has to figure out what happened, and there's a cute romance in it. Obviously I really liked this when I was reading it. It was super fun, but looking back on it, it was fun at the time, but it didn't really stick with me like some of these other books have. So maybe like 4-star actually. And then we have a couple books from the Selection series. Now I read this for the first time probably a couple years ago, and these were rereads. I got these used, and look how like orange the pages are. Like, I love worn books. So the premise of these books is basically our main girl, how did I forget her name? Our main girl, America, she is entered into this contest to become the prince's wife, and she competes against, I think it's 30 other girls, and it's like, I just love this series so much. Like, some people definitely probably wouldn't give it a 5-star, but like, it just feels so nostalgic and like it's pure escapism. And if you just want something fun, literally read this. Like, I love this series so much, and it's one that I'll probably reread every year. I don't really know why I picked these 2 books. This one, there's a certain plot point in it I think about a lot, and I thought it was just so interesting. And then the first one, it's a vibe, you know? and there's just friendships in this one that I love. Okay, and then I'm gonna talk about these together. So this is the book that got me into reading. Some people may click off this video when they see it, but it ends with Us by Colleen Hoover, the first book I've ever annotated. Can't say I did it in a correct way, but I annotated it. And I just remember I read this for the first time probably a little over a year ago. This is what got me into reading, so everyone say a round of applause for this book because I wouldn't be here without it. I just remember I binged this in one day on my first time reading, like, intensely again. I've always read, but like not this intensely, you know? And I just remember Colleen's writing is just phenomenal. Like, if I pick up a Colleen book, there's no questions I'm gonna finish it that day or the next day. And obviously this book has flaws. It has cringy points, it has flaws, all of that. But rereading this, I was just like, wow. Basically, if you don't know what this is about Lily Bloom. I said it has cringy points, okay? I don't know how to explain this book. Basically, she falls in with this guy, and she is also reliving one of her past relationships when she sees him again and is rereading certain letters that she had. So it's kind of just like, you get past and present timelines in a way, and I just got something else that was cringy. But there is cringy points in this book, and I feel like a lot of people hate on Colleen, but I love this book. This is another one I don't think I'd stand with. I think since I did love the first one so much, I kind of was just like, yeah, 5 stars. Looking back on this, I think I'd give it probably 4. Nothing really happened. I will 1,000,000% say it's a money grab. It was a money grab, and I don't know. Like, it did give us good closure, but still, I think a lot more could have been done with this book. It was for money, and we all know it, but whatever. These are the books that I have read over a year ago, so this may get a little interesting. Apparently I gave these books 5 stars, so this is part of the Cruel Prince trilogy. I don't think I agree with the third one being a 5 stars. I think it's more of a 4. And honestly, probably this one too. I could not even tell you really what happened in these. I will say, I remember after I finished this series, I really wanted to reread it already because I liked it that much. I'll definitely have to reread this and see my updated thoughts, because I could see it being 5 stars. As of right now, I don't know if it would still be. The premise of this book, again, I feel like a lot of fantasy books have this plot, but our main girl, Jude, she gets sent to the Fae world. And there are certain points in this series that I love, and just like, I just love little like side plots that are like entertaining, I guess you could say. So I did like that about this book, and I did think these were really interesting. It is a very good series, but I just don't know if it's 5-star material, you know what I mean? And then we have another one that's kind of questionable. It is Ruin and Rising, part of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. This is the last book. I don't really think I'd give this 5 stars. I think it's a solid 4-star book. Again, I don't even remember really what happened in this, and I remember the ending just being kind of like disappointing in a way. I do remember a lot of people say that this series, like, it starts out strong, gets boring in the middle, and then picks up at the end. I definitely kind of agree with that, but I can't really tell you what this book's about because it's the third one. But the first one, our main girl Alina, she basically is living her life as a map maker in the Second Army, and she basically discovers that she has this insane power. Yes, I changed shirts, but sorry for the brief intermission. Anyway, so basically Alina gets these powers, and so she has to, you know, save the world, all that. There's love, there's a Netflix show, there's drama, all that. I don't think this would be a 5-star anymore. I think we'll bump it to a 4. These are sticking to 7-star reads. The Six of Crows series by the same author. So this is about basically a group of people, and they go on this very dangerous quest for so much money, and the found family, the friendship, the drama, it's so funny. It's so good. I love this series so much. Definitely one of my top favorite books of all time. And then we got The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is another one I don't think would stay a 5. I think a solid 4. It's one of those, I touched on this earlier, where I loved it at the time, but thinking back, I don't remember much. I do remember this guy, literally loved him so much. It's about an NFL football player and they're best friends, but they don't want to like admit to each other their feelings to like friends to lovers. And then we have One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. When I tell you I bawled the entire half of this book, I mean it. This was just such an emotional book and I was genuinely conflicted the whole time. So it's about this girl who she was married but her husband goes missing and is presumed dead, so she moves on, is engaged to someone else. Her old husband comes back from the dead basically, like he's found alive, so now she has to choose between the two. And then Dial A for Aunties. This book was so fun, you guys. I remember literally sitting in the car before work binging this book, trying to finish it. This definitely sticks to a 5. If you need something quick, funny, easy, read this. Her name's Madeline, and she accidentally ends up killing her blind date, so she calls in her aunts for reinforcements, and it is so funny and entertaining. And then we have Where the Crawdads Sing. A lot of people said it was kind of boring, but I really didn't think so at all. I was so engaged and it was just so interesting to me. Like, I've never read anything like it. It was just so interesting. It was sad. It was all of the emotions. It's basically about our girl Kaya, and she's basically abandoned by everyone and everything. And she has to live alone in the marsh. So it's her entire life from when she was like a baby to when she's old. It's a movie. Okay, the last 3, I don't really think they stood true, but we have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is definitely a fan fave. I think it's more of a 4-star for me. I don't really think about it, and I just didn't think I connected to it as much as other people do. So it's basically just about like 2 bookish people who are childhood friends. They have like cabins by each other, and I don't know, I just didn't connect as much. And then Verity by Colleen Hoover. I think this book is definitely worthy of a 5-star, and when I was reading it, it was so insane. I feel like it's more of like a 4.5 for me. Like, I just don't think about it enough for it to be a 5 anymore. And then last, the second 5-star I ever gave, Daisy Johnson 6. This book, again, definitely 5-star worthy, but I just don't think about it enough for it to stay a 5-star. I think it's more of a 4 to me. I don't know, like, it's so unique and nothing like anything I've ever read. I just feel like it's more of a 4. That seems right for me. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Let me know some of your 5-star reads down below.